This is the new Bentley Flying Spur Speed, and it's got it all. Amazing performance, incredible luxury, and the massive price tag to match. It's also likely the very last Bentley to use the twin turbocharged W12, which is one of my all-time favorite gasoline engines. Today I'm going to review the Flying Spur Speed and show you all of its quirks and features. Today's video is brought to you by Cars and Bids, my online enthusiast car auction site that recently sold this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Check it out at carsandbids.com. All right, time for the quirks and features, the new Bentley Flying Spur Speed, and I'm gonna start with the best part, the engine. 6-liter twin turbocharged W12, one of my all-time favorite gasoline engines ever put in any car ever. Bentley's been using it for 20 years and it just keeps getting better. In this car, 626 horsepower, 664 pound-feet of torque, massive numbers. It has about 85 more horsepower than the V8 in the regular model. 0 to 60 comes in the mid 3-second range on its way to a top speed of 207 miles per hour. This engine is everything, and I truly love it. And yet it's going away. The Flying Spur Speed is the very last Bentley that will offer this twin-turbo W12. It's going out of production in the spring, and then it's gone. We're gonna move to V8s and plug-in hybrids, and Bentley says their entire lineup will be electrified by 2030. But for now, we have one last gasp of this incredible W12. In the Flying Spur lineup, it's only offered on the Speed model, or you can still get it in the regular Flying Spur through the special wishes department, but basically, this is it, this is the car, and this is the end of the W12. Now, beyond the powertrain, there's a lot of other interesting things about the new Flying Spur Speed. All of these come standard with all-wheel drive. That has always been true of the Continental GT and the Flying Spur models. And this one comes standard with rear-wheel steering, which greatly improves its maneuverability in tight spaces. Kind of a cool feature. In terms of braking, the Flying Spur Speed has 16.5-inch front brake rotors, which Bentley says are the largest brakes ever fitted to any production car ever. You can see they are absolutely massive, almost 17 inches. That's, to me, a fairly large wheel size. Well, here it's the brake rotors. And speaking of the wheels, the Speed model gets its own distinctive wheel design, different from the standard Flying Spur, to help distinguish it as the more upscale, high-performance version. And there are other upgrades on the outside to help you tell apart the $300,000-ish Speed from the standard plebeian $230,000-ish regular Flying Spur. Namely, everything has been blacked out. You can see all the trim, like around the headlights, it's blacked out instead of chrome. Same deal on the front grille, this blacked out trim. You have this blacked out line going down the hood, distinguishing this car, and these blacked out fender badges on the side. Basically, blacked out trim all throughout to help emphasize the performance instead of luxurious chrome. Strangely, there is only one exterior badge on this car that actually says Speed. It's located here, and it is chrome. Even though everything else on this car is blacked out, the Speed badge itself is chromed, which is strange. Also, a Speed upgrade is on the trunk. You have a little carbon fiber spoiler that again kind of helps to give away that this is a little different from your standard regular luxury focused Flying Spur. And of course, there are many other interesting quirks apart from the fact that this is a speed model. For example, the headlights, which look absolutely beautiful, like crystal high quality jewelry. It's a really, really gorgeous look to match the high-end luxury and price tag of this car. Inside the fuel door, you can see the gas cap has this cool Bentley look that's aluminum and special. It's actually plastic. It's not actually aluminum, but it looks cool, certainly better than a usual boring plastic gas cap like you'd find on most cars. And here's a very cool trick on the outside. You have the flying Bentley winged bee logo back here on the trunk, as you can see. And to open up the trunk, you push the Bentley bee in the middle, and the trunk pops right open. Take another look at that. You push the bee, it opens up, a hidden little trunk popper on the outside of the Bentley, and a neat touch. As for the general look of this vehicle, I gotta say, it is gorgeous. Amazingly, the new Flying Spur still has about the same dimensions as the original model, which came out back in 2006. I say it's amazing because this car has a lot more presence. It looks more stately, more elegant, more beautiful, more modern. It looks longer and bigger, but it isn't. It's just the way they've designed it with these flowing lines that give it more gravitas driving down the road or parked. It is a truly gorgeous car. As for this color, Bentley calls it British Racing Green. It certainly attracts attention as a press car, but I suspect no one will order it. But it is available if you want to be extra flamboyant with your Bentley exterior color. And next up, we climb inside the Flying Spur Speed, which is where you'll find virtually all of the really interesting quirks. Starting with getting inside, you can see the winged Bentley logo projecting onto the ground, which I think is a little gauche and silly, but that's what they do. You'll also see that Bentley lights up here on the door sill, and above that you have Speed. That bright green Bentley color is configurable, by the way. You can change it to basically any color you want. It doesn't have to be that bright green, but it greets you each time you climb inside. And when you climb inside, the first thing you notice is unquestionably the materials in here. Everything is beautiful, like you'd expect for over $300,000. You have high quality leather with nice contrast stitching. You have gorgeous aluminum and chrome trim everywhere you look. It's a beautiful interior for a beautiful car. And probably the most obvious focal point is the dashboard, where you have this brushed aluminum in this sort of half circle pattern all throughout the dashboard, moving on to the door panels. It looks fantastic, and it really is fitting with the luxury status of this car. And speaking of the dashboard, let's talk about the center screen, which, as you can see right now, well, there isn't one. You just have this beautiful brushed aluminum panel. But turn on the car and the panel like flips up and out of place, and a screen shows up instead, which is kind of a neat trick. And there's still another trick. If you press the button that's marked screen, the screen will go away and flip over again and reveal these 3 gauges, which you can look at while you drive along. You don't actually have to look at your screen if you want a more calming, beautiful experience. Press screen again, the gauges flip out of place, and the screen returns. And you can do this as many times as you want, depending on your mood, changing away from the screen to the gauges, back and forth. Now, when you move your eyes down from that center control stack and the rotating screen, you will discover that in the center console there are a lot of buttons. That's because Bentley had to locate the climate controls here due to the design of the center control stack with the screen, the vents, this beautiful clock. The climate controls all came down here. So the center console is shared with a lot of climate controls and then a lot of other controls, as you can see. The gear selector, the start-stop button, the drive mode, the parking brake. It's all here in the center console, and it makes for kind of a busy, kind of over-buttoned experience compared to a lot of more minimalist modern interiors. Now, it's worth pointing out down here that the dials are truly beautiful. The dials you use to adjust the climate temperature and the drive mode are really gorgeous with this beautiful diamond pattern on the outside. They just look and feel fantastic. Unfortunately, despite all of the controls and buttons down here, there's still a few things that are they're surprisingly annoying to operate. For example, this car has massaging seats, but there's no button for it here in the center. Around the heated seats, the cooled seats, no massage button. For that, you have to go into the infotainment system, then slide your finger over through several different tabs, and only then do you actually get to your massaging seats, which you can turn on. It's kind of annoying, and it'll certainly make you use them less. But even more annoying is the climate-controlled fan speed. To change that, you have to press the fan button in the center console, and then a menu pops up in the screen where you can actually adjust the fan speed. It's a two-step process just to make that change. It's a little annoying, particularly considering just how many buttons this car has. But don't you just forgive that stuff when the switch to open and close the climate vents is this beautiful? This chrome or aluminum switch that operates so smoothly and so effortlessly. It's so nice. Do we really care about anything else? Another interesting quirk here in the center console, the gear selector you can see here in the middle with the B logo on top. That's of course the Bentley logo, and you press it in order to go into gear. It's kind of a neat integration of the Bentley logo into this important component for driving the car. And speaking of the B logo, you can also see it here in the drive mode dial selector. There's several different modes, sport, comfort, but one is the B logo, the Bentley mode, which I think is supposed to be sort of a mix between sport and comfort, how you're supposed to drive a Bentley. Not too fast, but not too slow either. One other interesting thing in this center console is the armrest. You can see beautiful stitched leather. It doesn't open to reveal a center console. There's just an armrest here. It moves forward or backwards, but it doesn't lift up with storage underneath like basically every other armrest in armrest history. But anyway, next let's move on to the tech in this car, the center infotainment screen, which is excellent thanks to Bentley's association with Volkswagen Audi, who own Bentley. They have about the same infotainment, and it's great. Very easy to use, very responsive to the touch, really an excellent system with no major drawbacks. I love, for instance, the home screen, which you can see this three-paneled screen here, very configurable to display exactly what it is that you want to see. This screen is also very quick to respond, just like a smartphone. Tap basically anything and it pulls right up. And I love the physical buttons mounted just below the screen that allow you to go through various different menus just with the push of a button instead of going into the screen, the back buttons, whatever. These physical buttons here at the base of the screen are nice to see. Also worth pointing out, the Flying Spur has an excellent camera system. You can see it here, really high quality cameras showing a lot of different angles. I bring this up because the camera quality in most new Audi models is not really all that good, but they have clearly upgraded for Bentley. And the rear camera, you can clean it. Just tap here and then it squirts water to clean the camera, as you can see, to make sure your view is not obstructed. But next we move into the gauge cluster, which is also a screen and also excellent. This gauge cluster sets the standard for basically all the others. You can see whatever view you want. Your phone, your map, you can have it full screen or smaller, very configurable and very easy to configure. And I love to see this in Audi and Bentley models, and other Volkswagen brands have this great gauge cluster screen, which is so easy. Also worth pointing out, this car has a night vision system, which basically shows you what's coming at night using heat. So if an animal or pedestrian is going to walk down the road, you can see that. I love cars with night vision. I think it's a fantastic idea. It's kind of declined in popularity in recent years, which I think is such a shame. I'd love for it to come back, but at least it's here on the Flying Spur. Now, also in this vicinity, worth pointing out just how beautiful some of the stuff over here is, like the turn signal stalk. You can see chrome aluminum trim, and they've made the edges this same textured diamond pattern that you saw on the center console dials. That's the part you actually touch, and it feels great to touch as a result. Just a beautiful turn signal stalk. That's what you get when you pay this much money for a car. And it's the same deal with a lot of the other switchgear over here. You can see the power window switches are this chrome aluminum trim that look beautiful. Same deal with the speaker cover up front, the name audio system. It looks fantastic, even though you don't really see it while you're sitting inside the car. It's so deep in the footwell. You also have metal shift paddles, which look and feel great. And even the little dials on the steering wheel to adjust like the track you're listening to or the volume, they are also this diamond pattern textured finish that looks and feels great. Little attention to detail like that is why this car is so expensive. One other interesting quirk of the Flying Spur Speed is the subtlety of the speed badging. There's really not all that much, but there is enough. You have speed mounted over on the dashboard on the passenger side, which looks great, and you have speed stitched into the backrests on the seats, which also looks great. I already mentioned you have speed on the door sill, printed relatively subtly, and that's it. You don't need over-the-top reminders you got the special version. What you have is sufficient. One other interesting item worth pointing out in here, a lot of the interior is actually not leather. Even though it looks like it, it feels like it, a lot of it is made from a substance called Dynamica, which is actually mostly recycled materials. Again, has the same feel, the finish, the look as leather, but a lot more environmentally conscious, eco-friendly, and so that's what's used in most of this interior. And frankly, you wouldn't really notice. And next we move on to the back of the Flying Spur Speed, where you open the door and once again you get the winged Bentley B logo, even coming out of the back doors, which is pretty cool, and the same light up Bentley font that you had up front, and the same Speed logo in the door sill, also like you had up front. There is no decontenting for rear passengers like there is in so many other cars. Now, you get back here and the first thing you discover, it is huge. You have an enormous amount of space back here. You can basically lie down. There's a lot of room. These cars are used in some places as chauffeur-driven vehicles, and sitting back here, you understand why. It's giant and it's comfortable, and there are some very interesting quirks. We'll start with this screen here in the center of the back. You can see it's a screen that allows you to adjust various things. That's pretty cool, but the cool part is you can remove it from its perch. Press this eject button and then it's sort of delivered to you. It comes out and it's handed to you. You pick it up and then you can use it like a tablet in the back, and it can control all sorts of different items, like the climate control temperature, front and rear. You can control it from this car. You can also turn on your heated seats, your cooled seats, and even your rear massaging seats, which this car has, not just in front, but in back. You can also adjust the navigation destination here, or change the music, the song we're listening to, and you can even see trip information for the car, the current speed, how many miles we've traveled, all of that stuff you can monitor as the rear passenger sitting back here with your tablet. And when you're done, you just basically put it right back where you found it. The magnet grabs it back into place, and then it goes right back to its spot facing the rear seats. Quite interesting. Now, beyond all that, let's talk more controls back here, specifically seat controls, which you can see are mounted on the rear doors, and you can adjust the bottom of the seat, its position, the backrest, even the headrest, power operated for the rear seats, and there's even seat memory back here, memory settings for the rear seats, which you so rarely see in vehicles. Back here, you also have a center seat in the middle, so 3 across seating, but no one will ever sit in this center seat due to the giant hump in the floor for the drivetrain and the protruding climate control vents and little storage cubbies. So forget about the center seat passenger and fold down the center compartment and you reveal a few cool things. Number one, cup holders at the front. You also have an armrest here, of course, and you can open that up and you get a storage compartment in here and power ports, USB and cigarette lighter style power ports where you can charge your devices sitting in the back of your Bentley. Also worth pointing out, you can adjust the sunshades back here. This switch panel on the ceiling lets you open or close the rear sunroof sunshade, but there's more sunshades than that. Inside your tablet, there's a control for the shades on the rear windows. You can see them closing now. You can also keep them open, and there's a sunshade on the far back window as well. You can configure it how you want. You can close them all if you want to keep out the sun and also the plebeians outside your Bentley. Also worth pointing out in here, some other luxury touches. You have mirrors that drop down from the ceiling, so you can open them up and look at yourself. You also have pillows on the seat headrests, not just regular headrests, but plush pillows where you lean back, put your head in, and they feel so wonderful and comfortable. And I love this pattern on the door. This leather diamond pattern looks so cool and so upscale. And, well, it's probably not leather. It's probably the Dynamica material that I mentioned earlier. Eco-friendly, environmentally conscious, and beautiful. You wouldn't be able to tell it's not leather. It looks great. And finally, we move on to the trunk in the Flying Spur Speed, which is actually not all that remarkable, except that it is completely lined in carpeting. The trunk lid, the upper part, the sides, all carpeting, so that whatever you have back here doesn't get damaged by impacting something. You also have a 12-volt power outlet back here, which is nice for practicality, and a little pass-through into the back seat, which is nice for your skis. If you want to go skiing in your Flying Spur, it is all-wheel drive after all. You can hit the slopes and then come back to your car and stick them into the passenger compartment and get snow everywhere. No one's gonna do it, but it's there if you want to. All right, driving the Flying Spur Speed. And I gotta say, I mentioned before, this is one of my all-time favorite gasoline powertrains. It might be my very favorite. I just love how the W12 feels. And when it's inside a Bentley, it just magnifies how great it is, because this car is so wonderful and so calm and luxurious and relaxed. You combine all of it, this incredible powertrain and the amazing luxury of this car, and it is really something special. So let's talk through the driving experience here. The thing that is so nice about this car is, about this powertrain, is just the way that it feels when you accelerate. A lot of cars are fast, but this powertrain, more than any other that I've ever driven, is not just fast, it gives you this feeling of speed that is so just fantastically wonderful. This sort of whoosh, like you're being pushed from behind on all sides. That's what it feels like there's something propelling you forward, like heavy wind, basically. It just feels, oh, it's so good. It delivers speed so well. It has so much torque. It is such smooth acceleration, and it's not crazy and angry and frenetic. Oh my God, I love this powertrain. It is so good, and it's such a shame that it's going away, but I mean, the truth is the truth. You understand what's coming, you understand why it's coming. This engine lasted for 20 years. It first went into the Continental GT, I think that was 2004, 0304. Made it 20 years in that car, and this one, and various other Bentleys, the Bentayga. And it's just an amazing, amazing powertrain. And over the years, they've increased the performance level, and they've increased the efficiency. Like, the engine has gotten better, but it just, it's not quite capable of living in the new world that we're in. Everything in this car is tremendously nice. When you're sitting here, just the materials, the feel, the look, everything is nice. And so it gives you that sense of being kind of in an elevated class compared to a regular car, if you will. And by regular car, I even include the Mercedes S-Class, the Audi A8, that kind of thing. But I will say, one thing that surprises me a little bit, the driving experience aside from the powertrain, I mean, this car costs low $300,000. Is it worth that? You get an incredible brand name, you get an unbelievable powertrain, and you get a lot of really nice materials. From a comfort and luxury and riding in a cloud standpoint, I'm not really sure this car is quite at that level. Now, it is the speed model. It's the high performance version. It's not necessarily intended to be. It's supposed to be sportier and more exciting, but I have to say, I'm not entirely sure it's even that, really. When you go around corners, this car is big. It feels big. The steering is very light, even in the tightest drive mode. It doesn't necessarily feel like a high performance car, but it also doesn't necessarily feel like an ultimate luxury car. What it feels like is a great cruiser or a great tourer. But I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not entirely sure the speed is worth the money over the standard Flying Spur, because this car doesn't feel dramatically more comfortable, nor dramatically more exciting from a steering and handling perspective. Now, it does have the W12, which adds a lot in my opinion, but the V8 also provides excellent acceleration, and you can technically still spec the W12 in a regular Flying Spur. You just have to go through like the special wishes department. And of course, there's a lot of used ones with W12s in them as well. So this car is just like a little bit compromised. I feel like an S63 has more of a sporty twinge to it. With this car, they tried to make it both sporty and luxurious. And as a result, it's not quite the perfect example of both. But it is still a very nice car with a very nice turbo 12-cylinder that just feels superfluous. It's just an amazing, amazing powertrain. I will say this car is very stately and has an enormous amount of presence. I am shocked at the number of people who look at it and have talked to me about it and just driving it around. I would have thought the world has kind of gotten used to Bentleys by now. The Continental GT has been the entry-level model for years, but that does not seem to be the case. This car still seems to be strong, exciting. People are, and especially in this color, people are still looking at it and saying, wow, a Bentley. And this car certainly is the Flying Spur to get if you just want to get the ultimate model with the ultimate performance and the ultimate level of everything. And so that's the new Bentley Flying Spur Speed. It's sad to say goodbye to the famous W12, but at least Bentley is sending it off right in a special car worthy of the special engine. And now it's time to give the Flying Spur Speed a DougScore. And the DougScore is here, 69 out of 100, which puts the Flying Spur Speed here against some similar fast luxury cars. I truly love this Bentley. It's tremendously expensive, sure, and the design is aging, but that W12 engine is one of my all-time favorite powertrains, if not my single favorite. I'm obsessed with it, and the rest of the car is excellent too. A great package all around, though you pay a hefty sum for it.